Hi everyone. In this lesson, we are going to talk about one of the most powerful forces behind every strong relationship, verbal and nonverbal communication. Whether in work or personal life, relationships do not break because of lack of intelligence. They break because of misunderstandings, unspoken expectations, harsh tones, crossed arms, ignored messages, or one sentence said at the wrong time. Communication is not just what you say, it is how you say it. It is when you say it, and sometimes it is what you don't say at all. Let's break this down together. Verbal communication, the words you choose. Verbal communication is the language you use, spoken or written. It includes the words themselves, your tone, clarity, timing, structure. Many people think communication is just about speaking, but strong relationships require intentional speaking. Example 1. Workplace scenario. Imagine your colleague missed a deadline. Version A. You're always late with your tasks. Version B. I noticed the deadline was missed. Is there anything blocking you? How can we prevent this next time? Same situation, completely different emotional impact. Version A attacks identity. Version B focuses on behavior and solution. In strong professional relationships, we criticize the process, not the person. Example 2. Personal relationship. Your partner forgets something important. Version A. You never listened to me. Version B. When you forgot this, I felt unimportant. It matters to me. The difference? Blame versus vulnerability. Strong relationships are built on clear, respectful, emotionally intelligent language. Tone matters more than words. You can say, that's fine, but your tone can mean, it's truly fine. I'm disappointed. I'm angry. I'm done talking. Tone often communicates more than vocabulary. This is why emotional regulation is critical in verbal communication. Nonverbal communication, the silent language. Research consistently shows that a large portion of communication impact comes from nonverbal signals, facial expressions, gestures, posture, eye contact, and body orientation. Nonverbal communication includes eye contact, facial expressions, posture, hand gestures, physical distance, touch, silence, micro-expressions. And here's the key principle. People trust what they see more than what they hear. If your words say, I'm happy for you, but your face shows tension, the relationship will feel unsafe. Example 3. The job interview. Candidate A says the right things, avoids eye contact, slouches, speaks softly. Candidate B speaks clearly, maintains steady eye contact, has open posture, smiles naturally. Who feels more trustworthy? Competence is partly communicated through body language. Example 4. Conflict situation. Imagine you're discussing a sensitive issue. Person 1. Crossed arms, avoids eye contact, looks at phone. Person 2. Leans slightly forward, maintains calm facial expression, nods while listening. Even before speaking, one person feels defensive, the other feels engaged. Nonverbal signals either build safety or trigger defense. When verbal and nonverbal don't match, this is called incongruence, and it destroys trust. You say, of course I support you, but you sigh, you roll your eyes, your shoulders tense. Your words say support, your body says resistance. Humans are wired to detect inconsistency. When verbal and nonverbal messages conflict, people believe the nonverbal message. Strong relationships require alignment between what you think, what you say, what you show. Cultural sensitivity in communication. In different cultures, nonverbal communication changes dramatically. For example, in some cultures, direct eye contact signals confidence. In others, prolonged eye contact may be considered disrespectful. Physical distance preferences vary. Tone intensity varies. As a relationship builder, especially in global workplaces, cultural awareness is essential. If you work internationally or online, this becomes even more critical. The power of active listening. Let's talk about something most people misunderstand. Communication is not speaking. Communication is listening. You can speak perfectly and still destroy relationships if you don't listen. Active listening includes nodding, paraphrasing, asking clarifying questions, maintaining eye contact, not interrupting, observing emotional shifts. When someone feels heard, 70% of relational tension dissolves. Example, instead of, "That's not what I meant," try, "Let me make sure I understand you. You're saying that you felt excluded in that meeting, right?" That one sentence can save years of emotional distance. Micro behaviors that strengthen relationships. Small nonverbal behaviors have huge impact. Smiling when greeting, using someone's name, leaning slightly forward when they speak, putting your phone away, matching energy level, softening your facial expression. These seem small, but they signal respect and presence is one of the strongest relational currencies. Digital communication, the modern challenge. Now let's address something very relevant to your professional life. In emails, WhatsApp, Slack, Teams, nonverbal cues disappear, which means tone becomes dangerous. Example, email, "We need to talk." This can trigger anxiety immediately. Better, "Can we schedule 15 minutes to align on the project timeline?" Clarity reduces emotional guessing. In digital communication, over-communicate clarity, use structure, avoid sarcasm, be precise, because written words lack facial tone and body language. Practical exercise for you. This week, I want you to observe yourself. Ask, do my facial expressions match my words? Do I interrupt? Do I speak to win or to understand? Do I criticize people or behaviors? Do I maintain open posture in difficult conversations? Awareness is the first step to mastery. Final thought. Strong relationships are not built by accident. They are built intentionally through respectful verbal clarity, emotionally intelligent tone, congruent body language, deep listening, cultural awareness, consistent presence. Words create direction, body language creates emotion, and relationships are emotional experiences. If you master both verbal and nonverbal communication, you don't just improve conversations, you transform your influence, your leadership, your partnerships, and your life. Active listening skills. If there is one skill that can transform your relationships at work, at home, and even within yourself, it is active listening. Most people think they listen. Very few actually do. Today, we're going to change that. What is active listening? Active listening is not just hearing words. It is fully focusing on the speaker, understanding their message, interpreting emotions behind the words, responding thoughtfully, making the other person feel heard and valued. Hearing is biological, listening is psychological and emotional. Example, your colleague says, "I'm fine, it's just been a long week." Passive listener hears, "They're fine." Active listener notices, tone is low, shoulders are tense, eye contact is minimal. Active listener responds, "It sounds like it's been more than just a long week. Want to talk about it?" That changes everything. Why active listening is critical in relationships. Let's be honest, most conflicts are not caused by disagreement. They're caused by feeling ignored, feeling misunderstood, feeling invalidated. When people feel unheard, they disconnect. In work life, employees disengage, teams break down, trust erodes. In personal life, partners feel lonely, friends drift apart. Small misunderstandings become big emotional wounds. Active listening builds trust, psychological safety, emotional closeness, respect. It says, "I see you, I hear you, you matter." The 5 core components of active listening. Full presence. Put the phone away, close the laptop, turn your body toward the speaker. Eye contact, open posture, no multitasking. Example, wrong. You say, "I'm listening," while scrolling your phone. Right. You say, "Give me a second, I want to focus on you," and you actually do. Presence is respect. Nonverbal signals. Your body speaks before your mouth does. Use nodding, soft facial expressions, leaning slightly forward, open arms, not crossed. If your arms are crossed and your face looks bored, the speaker will shut down. Reflecting and paraphrasing. Repeat back what you understood. Example, speaker, "I feel like my work isn't being recognized." Active listener. So you're feeling undervalued despite the effort you're putting in? This does two things: clarifies meaning, makes the person feel validated. Even if you misunderstood, they'll correct you. That's still progress. Asking open-ended questions. Avoid yes/no questions. Instead of, "Are you upset?" Ask, "What's been bothering you the most?" Instead of, "Did that meeting go bad?" Ask, "How did you feel during the meeting?" Open questions create space. Space creates depth. Depth creates connection. Emotional validation. This is where most people fail. Validation does not mean agreement. It means acknowledging emotion. Example: wrong. You're overreacting. Better: I can see why that would be frustrating. Even if you disagree with the reaction, you can still respect the feeling. Common listening mistakes. Let's be honest about our habits. Listening to reply. You're preparing your response instead of listening. Interrupting. You think you're helping, but you're hijacking. Fixing too fast. Sometimes people don't want solutions. They want understanding. Example: friend, I'm overwhelmed. Wrong. Just make a to-do list. Better. That sounds heavy. What's making it feel overwhelming? Active listening at work. In professional environments, this skill becomes a leadership superpower. Scenario 1. Employee complaint. Employee: I feel like I'm doing more than others. Passive manager: everyone feels that way sometimes. Active manager: help me understand where you feel the imbalance is. That single sentence opens dialogue, shows fairness, prevents resentment. Scenario 2. Customer conflict. Customer: this is the third time I've had this issue. Wrong. Let me check your account. Right. I understand how frustrating it must be to deal with this repeatedly. You address emotion first, then solution. Emotion first, solution second. Always remember that. Active listening in personal life. Let's talk about relationships at home. Partner says, "You never have time for me." Wrong. That's not true. Active listening response. "It sounds like you're feeling neglected. Tell me more about that." Notice what happens. Defensiveness turns into dialogue. When people feel heard, they calm down. The psychology behind active listening. Humans have a deep need to be acknowledged. When we feel heard, our stress hormones decrease. Our defensive reactions soften. Our trust increases. When we feel ignored, we escalate. We repeat ourselves louder. We emotionally withdraw. Active listening regulates relationships. It creates emotional safety. A simple four-step listening framework you can use immediately. Whenever someone speaks, stop, remove distractions. Listen, no interrupting. Reflect. So what I'm hearing is, validate. That makes sense. Practice this daily. You will see immediate changes. Practice exercise for you. Today, choose one conversation. Your goal: don't interrupt. Paraphrase at least once. Ask one open-ended question. Validate one emotion. Observe what changes. You will be surprised. Final thought. Active listening is not about technique. It is about intention. When you listen to understand, instead of listening to respond, you create stronger relationships everywhere. In work, in love, in friendship, in leadership. Remember this: people may forget what you said. They will never forget how you made them feel. And active listening makes people feel valued. Let's practice it every day. In this lesson, we are going to talk about one of the most powerful and most misunderstood tools in building strong relationships: empathy as a communication tool. Not empathy as a nice personality trait, not empathy as being emotional, but empathy as a strategic, practical, relationship-building communication skill. If you master this, your relationships at work and in life will change dramatically. What is empathy in communication? Empathy is the ability to understand another person's feelings, thoughts, and perspective, and communicate that understanding back to them. It is not agreeing with them, solving their problem immediately, taking responsibility for their emotions. It is, "I see you, I hear you, I understand what this feels like for you." That sentence alone can transform relationships. Why empathy is so powerful. In communication, people don't just want solutions, they want validation. Let me give you a simple example. Example 1. At work, an employee says, "I'm overwhelmed. I can't keep up with these deadlines." Response without empathy. "Well, everyone is busy. Just manage your time better." Response with empathy. "It sounds like you're under a lot of pressure right now. Let's look at what's making it feel overwhelming." Which one builds trust? The second response does not immediately fix the problem, but it does something more important. It makes the person feel understood. And when people feel understood, they become more cooperative, more open, more solution-oriented, less defensive. Empathy lowers emotional resistance. The science behind empathy. Researchers like Daniel Goleman have emphasized that empathy is a core component of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is strongly linked to leadership effectiveness, conflict resolution, relationship satisfaction, team performance. In other words, empathy is not soft, it is powerful. Empathy in personal relationships. Let's move from workplace to personal life. Example 2. Partner conflict. Your partner says, "You never listen to me." Non-empathetic reaction. "That's not true. I always listen." Empathetic response. "It sounds like you've been feeling unheard. Tell me more about that." Do you see the difference? The first response defends. The second response connects. Empathy does not mean you accept blame unfairly. It means you acknowledge the emotional experience of the other person, and emotional acknowledgement reduces escalation. Empathy as a de-escalation tool. In high conflict situations, empathy works like emotional oxygen. Example 3. Angry customer. Customer. "This service is terrible. I'm really disappointed." Poor response. "Calm down. It's not that bad." Empathetic response. "I can understand how frustrating this must be. I'd feel upset too if I experienced that." When people feel heard, their intensity decreases. Empathy reduces anger, increases cooperation, creates psychological safety. This is why top leaders use empathy strategically. For example, leaders like Satya Nadella have publicly emphasized empathy as a leadership cornerstone. Under empathetic leadership, trust increases, and so does performance. The structure of empathetic communication. Let me give you a simple 3-step formula you can apply immediately. Step 1. Observe without judgment. "I notice you seem stressed." Step 2. Reflect the emotion. "It sounds like you're feeling frustrated." Step 3. Invite expression. "Do you want to talk more about what's happening?" That's it. Empathy is not complicated. It is intentional. Cognitive versus emotional empathy. There are 2 types. Cognitive empathy, understanding what someone is thinking. Example, "I understand why you would see it that way." Emotional empathy, understanding what someone is feeling. Example, "I can sense how disappointed you are." Strong communicators combine both. Common mistakes when trying to be empathetic. Let's be honest, sometimes we try, but we fail. Mistake 1. Turning it into yourself. "Oh, that happened to me too." You just shifted the spotlight. Mistake 2. Jumping to solutions too quickly. "Here's what you should do." People need understanding before advice. Mistake 3. Minimizing. "It's not that big of a deal." If it's big for them, it is big. Empathy builds psychological safety. Teams where people feel heard, share ideas more openly, admit mistakes earlier, collaborate better, innovate more. Empathy creates safety. Safety creates growth. Without empathy, communication becomes mechanical. With empathy, communication becomes human. Practical daily exercises. Here are simple practices I want you to apply starting today. Exercise 1. The 5-second pause. Before responding emotionally, pause for 5 seconds and ask, "What might this person be feeling right now?" Exercise 2. Label emotions. In conversations, try saying, "It sounds like you're disappointed. I hear frustration in your voice. You seem excited about this." Labeling emotions increases emotional clarity. Exercise 3. Replace "but" with "and." Instead of, I understand you're upset, but say, I understand you're upset, and let's see how we can fix this. But cancels empathy and continues it. The long-term impact of empathy. When you consistently communicate with empathy, at work, you become a trusted colleague, you become a respected leader, you reduce workplace conflict. In life, you deepen intimacy, you strengthen friendships, you create emotional safety in your family. Empathy compounds over time. It is like relational investment. Final thought for you. Strong relationships are not built on being right. They are built on being understood and helping others feel understood. Empathy is not weakness, it is relational intelligence. And in this course, we are not just learning to communicate, we are learning to connect. Now I want you to reflect. In your last difficult conversation, did the other person feel understood? That question alone can change your communication forever. In this lesson, we're going to talk about one of the most powerful and underestimated relationship skills, asking the right questions. If you improve only this skill, I promise you, your relationships at work and in your personal life will transform. Because relationships don't grow through answers, they grow through questions. Let's go deep into what this really means. Why questions matter more than statements. Many people try to strengthen relationships by giving advice, sharing opinions, or offering solutions. But here's the truth. When you tell, people defend. When you ask, people open. Think about this simple workplace example. Manager says, "Your performance has dropped. You need to focus more." The employee immediately feels judged. Now compare it with, manager asks, "I've noticed some changes in your performance recently. What's been going on?" The tone shifts from accusation to curiosity. One sentence closes the door, the other opens it. The right question creates psychological safety. Closed questions versus open questions. Let's clarify something fundamental. Closed questions. Did you finish the report? Are you okay? Do you agree? They produce short answers. Yes, no, maybe. Closed questions are useful for facts, but they rarely build relationships. Now look at open questions. How did you approach the report? What's been on your mind lately? What concerns you about this decision? Open questions invite stories, and stories build connection. In relationships, both professional and personal, stories are gold. The difference between curious questions and controlling questions. Not all questions are healthy. Some questions are disguised criticism. For example, why would you do something like that? This sounds like curiosity, but it actually feels like attack. Now compare. Can you walk me through your thinking at that moment? One creates shame, the other creates understanding. The difference is intention. Are you asking to understand, or are you asking to prove a point? People can feel the difference instantly. Questions that build trust at work. Let's imagine you are a team leader. Instead of asking, "Why is this late?" try, "What obstacles did you encounter?" Instead of, "Why didn't you inform me?" try, "What made communication difficult in this case?" See the shift? You move from blame to exploration. Another powerful question in professional relationships. What do you need from me to succeed? This single question shows support, encourages ownership, builds partnership. Leaders who ask empowering questions create stronger teams. Questions that deepen personal relationships. Now let's move to personal life. Many couples or friends talk daily, but rarely go deep. Instead of, "How was your day?" Automatic answer, "Fine." Try, "What was the most challenging part of your day? What made you smile today? What stressed you the most?" You're guiding the conversation toward emotion, and emotions are the foundation of connection. Another powerful question. What do you wish I understood better about you? That question alone can change a relationship. The art of follow-up questions. One good question is powerful, but thoughtful follow-up questions are transformative. Example, person says, "I'm just tired." Most people respond, "Oh, okay." But someone who builds relationships asks, "What's draining you the most? Is it physical tiredness or emotional?" Follow-up questions show attention. They say, I'm listening. I care. You matter. Questions that reduce conflict. During conflict, people stop asking and start defending. But conflict actually requires better questions. Instead of, why are you always like this? Try, what are you feeling right now? What outcome are you hoping for? What would a fair solution look like to you? Questions move the conversation from attack to collaboration. In conflict, the right question lowers emotional temperature. Questions for self-reflection. Remember, your relationship with yourself affects all other relationships. Ask yourself regularly, why did that comment trigger me? What am I afraid of in this situation? What assumption am I making? What does this person actually need from me? Strong relationships start with self-awareness, and self-awareness begins with honest questions. The 3 levels of questions. Let me give you a simple framework you can use immediately. Level 1. Surface questions. Facts, tasks, logistics. What time is the meeting? Level 2. Perspective questions. Thoughts, opinions, reasoning. What do you think about this strategy? Level 3. Emotional questions. Feelings, fears, motivations. How do you feel about taking this responsibility? Most people stay at Level 1. Good communicators reach Level 2. Relationship builders go to Level 3. If you want deeper relationships, aim for Level 3. A practical exercise for you. This week, I challenge you. In one conversation at work and one conversation at home, ask one deeper question. Stay silent. Listen fully. Ask one thoughtful follow-up. Notice what changes. You will see, people speak more. People relax more. People trust more. Final thought. The quality of your relationships is directly linked to the quality of your questions. Not louder, not smarter, not longer. Better. In both work and life, the strongest people are not the ones who always have answers. They are the ones who know how to ask. And now, you're becoming one of them. In this lesson, we're going to talk about something that silently damages relationships, both at work and in personal life: common communication mistakes. Most relationship problems are not caused by bad intentions. They are caused by poor communication. You can love your partner and still communicate badly. You can respect your colleague and still say the wrong thing. You can care deeply about your team and still create misunderstandings. So today, let's unpack the most common communication mistakes with real-life examples so you can start recognizing and correcting them immediately. Listening to respond instead of listening to understand. This is probably the most common mistake. Many people don't actually listen. They wait for their turn to speak. Example, at work. Your team member says, "I'm feeling overwhelmed with this deadline." Instead of understanding, you immediately respond, "Everyone is busy. That's just how this company works." What happened here? You dismissed emotion. You didn't ask questions. You didn't clarify. A better response would be, "Tell me what feels overwhelming. Let's see how we can adjust." Same situation, completely different relationship outcome. Example, in personal life. Your partner says, "You never spend time with me." Instead of getting defensive, "That's not true. I was with you last weekend." Try, "It sounds like you're feeling disconnected. Let's talk about that." When people feel heard, conflicts soften. Making assumptions instead of asking questions. Assumptions destroy trust. We assume tone, we assume intention, we assume meaning, and most of the time, we assume wrong. Example, email at work. Your manager writes, "See me in my office." You think, "I must have done something wrong." You spend the whole day anxious. But when you go in, they say, "I want to discuss your promotion path." The problem? You created a story without facts. Instead of assuming, ask, "Is there anything specific I should prepare?" Clarity prevents emotional stress. Using absolutes, always and never. This is a classic mistake in both professional and personal relationships. Words like, "you always," "you never," they exaggerate, they accuse, they trigger defensiveness. Example, "You never support me." Is that factually true? Probably not. Better, "I felt unsupported in that meeting." Notice the difference? Specific behavior versus character attack. When you criticize behavior, people listen. When you criticize identity, people fight. Poor nonverbal communication. Communication is not just words. Tone, facial expression, posture, they all matter. You might say, "I'm fine," but your crossed arms, eye rolling, and cold tone say something else. Workplace example. A manager says in a monotone voice, "Good job," no eye contact, no smile. The employee leaves thinking, "Was that sarcasm?" Your nonverbal signals must match your words. If they don't, people believe your body, not your mouth. Interrupting too quickly. Interrupting sends one message. What I have to say is more important than what you're saying, even if that's not your intention. Example, your friend starts explaining their problem. You interrupt. "I know exactly what you should do." But they weren't looking for advice. They were looking for understanding. Let people finish. Silence is not awkward. It's respectful. Overloading with advice. Sometimes we confuse support with solutions. Not every problem needs fixing. Example, your partner says, "I had a terrible day." You respond with, "You should talk to your boss. You need to change departments. Why don't you update your CV?" But maybe they just needed, "That sounds exhausting. I'm here." Emotional support is often more powerful than strategic advice. Avoiding difficult conversations. This one is subtle, but dangerous. We avoid uncomfortable topics because we fear conflict. We want to keep peace. We don't want to hurt feelings. But avoidance creates distance. Example, workplace. You're unhappy with a colleague's behavior, but you say nothing. Weeks pass, resentment grows. One day, you explode over something small. The real issue? It was never addressed early. Healthy relationships require healthy confrontation. Respectful honesty builds trust. Passive-aggressive communication. Instead of direct communication, we use sarcasm, silence, or indirect comments. Example, instead of saying, "I was hurt when you cancelled last minute," you say, "Don't worry, I'm used to being your last priority." That's not communication. That's emotional manipulation. Clear is kind. Indirect is confusing. Focusing on winning instead of understanding. In arguments, many people try to win, but in relationships, when one person wins, both lose. Example, you prove your point, you bring past examples, you win the debate, but the other person feels humiliated. Was it worth it? The goal of communication is not victory, it's connection. Poor emotional regulation. Sometimes the biggest communication mistake is not what we say, but when we say it. Anger distorts tone. Stress shortens patience. Fatigue reduces empathy. If you're overwhelmed, pause. A simple, "I need 10 minutes before we continue this conversation," can save hours of damage. Emotional maturity strengthens communication. Final reflection for you. Let me ask you something. Think about your last conflict, at work or at home. Which mistake did you make? Did you interrupt? Did you assume? Did you exaggerate? Did you avoid? Did you react emotionally? Awareness is the first transformation step. Strong relationships are not built by perfect people. They are built by people who are willing to correct their communication mistakes. In this course, our goal is not just to speak better, it's to connect better, lead better, love better. And it all starts with how we communicate.